Hey family, I wanted to create my first video for a YouTube channel and I didn't know exactly what to start with. Should it be educational? Should it be about hacks? Should it be about news, AI industry, and things like that? And I realized that for a long time I've been on these interwebs talking, educating, selling, hustling, and doing all these things. And I never really told my story. So I wanted to probably share my journey with you as my first video. And I wanted to give you this background of where I was from, what made me who I am. And I wanted to share with you how I was born and raised in New York City. Not the skyline on postcards, but the Bronx. Actually, the poorest congressional district in the country. Poorer per capita than anywhere else you could imagine, including Mississippi and Alabama. Where I grew up, hustle wasn't optional, it was survival. It was in the air you breathed, in the concrete you walked, in the rhythm of the streets. You learned fast. You didn't just survive, you sharpened your edge. You found a way to turn struggle into structure, or you didn't make it. But it wasn't just struggle. The block was alive. You hear Marvin Gaye, you hear Tina Marie drifting out the window, salsa from Hector Lavoe, Willie Colon from another window. You catch Phil Collins and Billy Ocean on the radio, blending with Spanish love songs on the corner. The bodega smell of Café Bustelo, fresh bread, and pastelillos. Families laughed out loud. Kids played ball on the streets, and the culture wrapped around you like armor. It was raw, it was rich, it was mine. Right alongside that beauty, there was loss, real loss. I lost my mother, I lost my brother, I lost cousins, friends, people close to me who were taken too soon in a pandemic that tore through our communities quietly, without headlines. That pain left a mark and it lit a fire. For over 2.5 decades, I've been on a mission of service and transformation. That's why I stepped into the social service field as a profession, because at my core, I've always been about people, not in theory, but because I lived what happens when people don't get the care, the education, the support they need. I started working with underserved communities, then in clinical case management, making sure families didn't fall through the cracks the way mine did. And for a while, I thought that was it, that my mission was to make a difference one life at a time. But deep down, I knew something bigger. If you could fix the system, you could multiply the impact. You could take what you learned from one family, one patient, one block, and build change that lifted thousands. That belief pulled me deeper into healthcare right in New York City, at a time when a technological revolution was reshaping medicine. I found myself stepping into some of the best institutions in the world. NYU, Columbia University, School of Social Work, Johns Hopkins, Bellevue Hospitals, sitting at tables where the best minds of clinical care and technology were coming together. I got to see programs at scale, from the local family clinic to the state level, all the way up to federal initiatives. Case studies, data sharing, new protocols. It was a moment where the entire healthcare system was thinking how to use technology to save lives. That's why I fell in love with systems. Not technology for technology's sake, but technology as a lifeline, as a way to get care to the people who needed it most, faster and more effectively. I learned the guts of it all: software, databases, SQL, the back end of electronic medical records, the EMRs. And I learned the front end too, how the system was designed, how the data flow, how protocols were built to prioritize the sickest patients. I saw how these EMRs connected to national pharmacy databases, how local clinics could now coordinate with hospitals, how networks of hospitals could share information across the country. It was more than just work. It was beautiful. It showed me what was possible when you marry service with systems, when you bring heart and technology together. And I carry that gratitude with me to this day. And what made it all real for me wasn't just the data or the systems, it was the families I saw impacted by them. I remember seeing patients who, before, would have fallen through the cracks because no one was coordinating their care. Now, with these systems in place, their medications sync across pharmacies, their lab results move with them from clinic to hospital, their appointments were prioritized based on real needs. Parents didn't have to carry stacks of paper or retell the same story over and over again. The system finally did the remembering for them. That's when I understood the power of technology married to services. It wasn't abstract. It was the difference between a child getting treatment on time or being overlooked. It was a mother not losing another night's sleep because the care team finally had all the information in one place. It was dignity restored through data. And it gave me a rare perspective. I wasn't just looking at this from a social worker anymore. I was learning to see the full picture, the clinical side, the operational side, and even the financial side that kept these institutions running. That's how I stepped into clinical informatics, becoming a clinical analyst who understood not only how care was delivered at the bedside, but how the infrastructure behind it, the systems, the databases, the revenue cycles, made it all possible to scale that care. In New York, I got to see healthcare from every angle. The heart of social services, the science of medicines, and the architecture of operations. And those layers together gave me an understanding. I carry it into everything I've done since. Then my life shifted again. My daughter was born. In that moment, everything I've been doing for everyone else, all the patients, all the families, the systems, it hit me in a very different way. Now I wasn't just serving out of duty. I had a legacy to build, a reason to make sure that all of this work, all this impact wasn't just for the world, but for her. That's when I made the move to Houston, because if you're going to keep expanding, if you're going to keep stepping into a bigger stage in healthcare, you go where the largest medical center in the world is, the Texas Medical Center. To me, it wasn't just a career decision. It was a continuation of a blessed calling, a chance to scale what I've learned in New York and bring it into the environment where medicine, operations, and innovations were happening on a massive scale. But let me be clear, making that move wasn't easy. Leaving New York meant leaving everything I knew. My family, my neighborhood, my community, my safety net. The sounds, the culture, the blocks that raised me, all of it. And there I was, holding my newborn daughter in my arms, staring down, the fear of starting over in a place where I didn't know a soul. There were nights I questioned myself. Was I crazy from walking away from everything that's familiar? Was I risking too much with no guarantee on the other side? Because let's be honest, there was no blueprint, no cushion, no backup plan. Just faith, just that voice inside me that said, this is bigger than you. Your calling will take you where you need to go. So I leaned into that. I trusted that the same hand that pulled me through poverty, through loss, through the trenches of New York, wasn't about to abandon me now. I believed that if I kept following the call to serve, the doors would open. And that's what gave me the courage to pack up, leave everything behind, and step into Houston with nothing but determination and faith. Those first few months in Houston, man, they tested me. Everything was unfamiliar, the streets, the people, the pace. It wasn't New York. It didn't have that same rhythm, that same grit I grew up with. I felt like I stepped into a new planet. No family to lean on, no lifelong friends down the block, no neighborhood bodegas where they knew your name. Just me, a newborn daughter, and her mother depending on me, and a vision I refused to let go of. There were nights where the weight of it pressed hard, the uncertainty, the fear of failure, that question in the back of your head. What if this doesn't work? But here's the thing. Fear and faith can't live in the same room. Fear screams at you about what you stand to lose. Faith whispers about what you're here to build. And in those quiet moments, I chose the whisper. I knew I wasn't meant to stay comfortable. I wasn't meant to stay small. That calling that pushed me out of that one-on-one service that drove me into systems in New York was the same calling pulling me to Houston. I believe with everything in me that if I showed up with faith, with work, with discipline, the doors will open. And that belief carried me through the uncertainty of those first steps. And the truth is, my daughter was the engine behind all of it. Every move I made, every risk I took, every sleepless nights I pushed through, it was all fueled by her. Because when you're holding your child in your arms, you see the world differently. You don't just think about survival anymore. You think about legacy. You think about what kind of world you're leaving behind and what kind of name she'll inherit. For me, it meant that I couldn't play small. I had to build bigger, reach further, create something she could be proud of. Houston did what faith promised it would do. It opened the door. I stepped into the Texas Children's Hospital, right in the middle of the largest medical center in the world, and I found myself working inside their revenue cycle. But I just wasn't another analyst no more. By then, I carried something more. I had the clinical knowledge from my time in informatics, the operational and financial insight that came from working behind the systems, and the ability to make all of the moving parts actually work together. What tied it all together was business intelligence. But let me be clear, business intelligence isn't just a buzzword. It's actually a technical term in healthcare. It's a discipline. It's a science of building and managing the systems that connect clinical care, operations, and finance. It's knowing how the system works at the back end, how the workflows run in the front end, and how the data ties it all together into outcomes that matter. That discipline gave me the edge. It gave me credibility. And it opened doors. Inside that hospital, business intelligence let me see the entire ecosystem, how clinical decisions flowed into an operational process, how that process became a financial outcome, and how all of it determined whether patients got the care they needed and whether the system could sustain itself. That's when I realized this wasn't just about numbers on a report. This was about people, about lives, about impact at scale. But even as I thrived there, I knew I couldn't stay confined to one building, one hospital, one system. Just like I once knew I couldn't limit myself to helping one person at a time. Now I knew I couldn't limit myself to helping just one institution. Everything in me said I was built for a bigger playground, a bigger stage, a way to take what I had learned and unleash it beyond hospital walls. And that's where the itch for entrepreneurship began to burn. Because once you understand how systems work at the deepest level, and you know you can build them, you can't ignore the call to build something of your own. But even with everything I had built at Texas Children, I knew the truth. I wasn't meant to stay confined. That itch inside me, the same one that told me I couldn't just help one person or even one hospital, it kept pushing. And I knew exactly what I was calling me towards. Entrepreneurship. And let me tell you, making that leap took just as much faith, maybe more, than leaving New York for Houston. Because stepping out on your own, that's jumping without a net. It's exhilarating, it's terrifying, and it's the kind of move that rattles your bones and tests your spirit. But that's what a New Yorker is built for. They say if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. And I carry that truth with me. The grit, the wit, the steel spine forged in the poorest congressional district of America. And I knew I had the hustle in me because I had already survived the fire. Entrepreneurship wasn't about chasing money. It was about expanding the mission, about building systems not just for one institution, but for everyone that's ready to scale. It was about taking the heart of service, the mind of an analyst, and the spirit of a hustler, and pouring it into something that could touch the world. And through it all, I wasn't moving just for me. My daughter was the fuel behind every risk. She was the reminder that legacy is built, not handed down. And I carry my mother's name with me too, honoring her by becoming the CEO of my last name, the architect of my family's future. I wasn't just living, anymore. I was building for her, for my daughter, and for every life I could impact along the way. When I stepped into entrepreneurship, nobody told me it would be this hard. Nobody told me it would test every nerve, every ounce of grit, every corner of my faith. But nobody told me it would be this rewarding either. In the last 10 years, I faced storms that nearly broke me. I went through the devastation of Hurricane Harvey, watching Houston drown, and knowing that when the city suffers, so do the businesses, so do the families, so do the dream you're building. I endured the crushing weight of a recession that dried up opportunities overnight. I felt the sting of broken relationships, the pain of setbacks that came out of nowhere, and the kind of personal traumas that bleed into your business whether you want them or not. There were times I lost it all, times I had to start over from scratch, more than once. I sat in the silence of defeat, wondering if this was the moment the dream will finally die. But every single time I got back up, I clawed my way back, brick by brick, kind by kind, system by system. Because once you survive the Bronx, once you survive loss, once you've built something from nothing, you don't know how to quit. Entrepreneurship has been the greatest challenge of my life, but it has also been the greatest reward. Not just in business, but in personal development. Because nothing, no classroom, no job title, no credential will grow you the way building something on your own will. The sleepless nights, the failed launches, the unexpected crises, the times you've hanging on by a thread, that's where you find out who you really are. That's where you discover resilience. That's where you transform. And I've lived through more than just my own trials. I've built through a decade marked by national upheavals, recessions, political turmoil, pandemic supply chain collapses, inflation spikes. Every time the ground shook, entrepreneurs like me had to learn to stand anyway. And I did, over and over again. 10 years in, what I can tell you is this: entrepreneurship will break you down and rebuild you stronger. It will strip you of every illusion. It will strip you of every illusion and force you to face yourself. And it will give you the most exhilarating sense of purpose you've ever known. Every entrepreneur's journey is different. It's a lonely path. For me, it's been the place where service, systems, and legacy all collide. And as hard as it's been, I wouldn't trade it for anything. What made the leap into entrepreneurship different for me was that I didn't come into it blind. I came with a lens sharpened by healthcare. In the hospital, I learned what business intelligence really meant, tying together clinical care, operations, finance, and technology into one cohesive system. And when I stepped into the world of business, I realized that the exact principles apply. I started simple, running ads for customer acquisition. I learned quickly that marketing wasn't just about throwing money at ads. It was about creating hooks, stories, and offers that grab attention and move people to act. I got good at it, and that skill opened the next door. Because once you acquire customers, you need a way to nurture them, close them, and deliver at scale. That's when I went deep into funnels, sales, and automation. ClickFunnels, ActiveCampaign, MiniChat, Close.io, and tools like that. These became my new toolkit. Each tool was like a department in the hospital, specialized, powerful, but only as effective as the system around it. And just like in healthcare, the real power wasn't in the tools themselves. It was in knowing how to connect them, how to move information from one system to another seamlessly so that the whole operation ran like a living organism. That's what entrepreneurship gave me. The chance to take everything I learned in healthcare about outcomes, about systems, about scaling impact, and apply it to business. And I went from building systems that save lives to building systems that saved entrepreneurs, saving them time, saving them opportunities, saving them from drowning in chaos. And in the process, I found my lane, not just creating systems, but orchestrating them, moving data, workflows, and outcomes across platforms, the way a hospital moves information across departments. That became my edge, my signature. And after years of building these infrastructures, ads to funnels, funnels to automation, automations to sales, I realized something. The world was changing again. Just like in New York, when I saw healthcare going through a technological revolution, I started to see the same thing happening in business. A new wave of tools, systems, and possibility was breaking open. AI. And here's the truth. This wasn't just about chatbot here and automation there. This was different. This was agentic. Systems that didn't just store data or move information, but systems that could plan, decide, and act. Systems that could function like digital co-workers, thinking, problem solving, executing. For me, it wasn't hype. It was deja vu. Because I've seen this before. I've seen how electronic medical records transform healthcare when people thought it was impossible. And now I knew AI was about to do the same thing in business. So I leaned in hard. Everything I learned, from social services to healthcare to revenue cycle to business intelligence to funnels and automations, all of it lined up to make me see one thing clearly. AI wasn't the future. It was the present. And I was built to help people step into it. This is bigger than business, bigger than tools, bigger than tech. To me, AI wasn't just another software trend. It's the next great system shift. And when a shift like this happens, you only get two choices. You either adapt or you get left behind. I see it like I saw it in the Bronx, where struggle was everywhere, but so was ingenuity. I see it like I saw it in healthcare, where systems finally came together and families got the care they deserve. And I see it now in entrepreneurship, where people are working themselves into the ground, missing moments with their family, burning out because the systems they can't really keep up. And I can't look away because I've been through too much, seen too much, lost too much to just sit on the sidelines while people drown in chaos. I know what it's like to have nothing and still keep building. I know what it's like to trust faith over fear. And I know what it's like to see a tool, a system transform lives when people finally believe in it. That's what this mission is about. It's about giving people their time back, giving them back freedom, giving them systems that serve them instead of them serving the system. It's about putting intelligence, real intelligence, into the heart of business so entrepreneurs can do what they were born to do: build, create, and live. This isn't hype for me. This is duty. It's obligation. When you get tapped on the shoulder by something greater than yourself, you don't say no, you step up. You carry it. You build with it. You give it back. And that's why I'm here. Not to play small, not to ride waves, but to build the tide. To bring heart, hustle, and systems together, and to lead this shift with everything I got. Because if I don't, then what was all that pain, all that loss, all that faith for? And let me be clear, I don't just want this for me. What I want for myself, I want for you. I want you to be the CEO of your own last name. To have ownership, real ownership. Not just a paycheck, not just survival, but assets, digital real estate. Your stake planted in the ground in a new economy. I want you authenticated, verified, unshakable, on the blockchain and Web3, not waiting for permission, not asking for validation, but firm in the fact that you own your own name, your work, your future, your IP, not upside down. And I want you to have more than just systems that run your business. I want you to have an enterprise of AI agents working for you, a team you don't have to micromanage, a team that scales with you, that frees you, not just building business, building meaning, building life, building the things that make you wake up and feel alive each day. Because this is bigger than money. This is about moving from poverty of resources of time and spirit into fulfillment, into the desires of your heart, into legacy, into the kind of life where you don't just breathe, you live. So here's the vision. Agentic AI isn't just another tool in the toolbox. It's the next great system shift. Just like electronic medical records redefine healthcare, agentic systems are about to redefine business and life. Picture it. A world where you don't waste your days buried in tasks that drain you. A world where you got AI agents, digital coworkers, running your marketing, running your sales, your follow-ups, your onboarding, your operations. Not just random bots, but a whole enterprise of intelligent systems designed to work together, built to scale you. Scaling with AI agents. That's what we're stepping into. A new economy where ownership is digital. Assets are authenticated, and your name, your legacy, isn't just something you carry. It's something you build on. And if you play it right, if you step into this moment, you don't just get more time, more money, more growth. You get something deeper. Meaning, fulfillment, the chance to live the life you've always pictured without apology, without compromise. That's what I want for you. Because I know what it's like to lose everything and rebuild. I know what it's like to wonder if the dream is worth it. And I know what it feels like when faith carries you through fear and you come out stronger on the other side. This is that kind of moment. The kind that separates the ones who adapt from the ones who get left behind. The kind of moment where history shifts and you either claim your place in it or watch it pass you by. And I didn't come this far, from the Bronx to Houston to here, to watch it pass me by. I came to build, to serve, to lead, and now I'm inviting you to do the same. Because the future isn't just waiting, it's here. And before I leave you with this vision, let me say something clear. You got a lot of voices out there right now. Pandemic babies, right? The pandemic entrepreneurs, YouTube gurus, hustlers trying to sell you a dream they've never lived. And you can spot them a mile away because they're selling shortcuts without scars. That's not me. I'm cut from a different cloth, forged in a different fire. My story isn't theory, it's lived. From the Bronx streets where survival was the first hustle, to the halls of New York's greatest hospitals where I learned systems at scale, to Houston, Texas Medical Center where I tied clinical care to finance and operations, to a decade of entrepreneurship where I've lost it all and built it back more than once. This isn't something I'm trying. This is something I never left. It's my life work, every loss, every lesson, every breakthrough. It all brought me here right now to talk to you. That's why I can say with confidence, I'm not here to hustle you. I'm here to serve you, to guide you, to orchestrate this for you the way I've orchestrated systems my entire life. Because I know how to take complexity and turn it into clarity. I know how to take chaos and build structure. And I know how to take people from struggle to strength because I lived it. So when I talk about AI, agentic systems, and the future where we're stepping into, I don't speak as a spectator. I speak as someone who's been in the trenches, who's done the work, who's seen what happens when systems change lives. That's why I can say, without hesitation, I was made for this game, not by accident, not by chance, but by design. And that's why I stand here now, not asking for your trust, but offering mine. I'll carry the load with you. I'll guide you through the noise, and together we'll build not just business, but legacies, not just systems, but freedom, not just profits, but lives that matter. Because in the end, this isn't about me, it's about you, it's about us, and it's about what we can build together starting now. Everybody out here talks about success like it's handed out. Nah, success you can fake, money you can flash, but legacy is earned. Sincerely, Frankie.
Baby, now I got the flow. I'm about to pull up. His sweet spoken, and I've been waiting so long. Now I gotta resurface. Yeah, we ready to start. All the better we burn it. 'Cause I've been feeling turn up.